Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, good morning to the first game design Cuppa, new streaming time series for me. Idea was to try a different time out, to see maybe who else, try and reach different audiences, try a slightly different style of stream. It's going to be fairly relaxed, just sort of chatting, hanging out. Good way for people to start the day if folks want to drop by. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm kind of hoping for. I have my freshly brewed cup of Earl Grey tea next to me. Hey Rory, how you going? Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, so this will get all the early risers out of the woodwork, I guess, and sort out those from others. But yeah, so I don't have any kind of specific plans. I was just kind of randomly going to chat about things I've been thinking about. But I'm very much open to the a pretty open dialogue with viewers. So as always, if you have any questions, but if there are things like you've seen or that you want to chat about, or definitely recommend grab your hot beverage of choice and settle back if you can. Or I guess some people are already at work. Probably hope everyone is well wherever they are. Yeah. So what have I been up to? Well, I guess the interesting thing I was sort of looking at, or that is interestingly kind of blown up on Twitter. I'm not sure if Rory, if you've seen it, or other people, this Slay the Spire board game adaptation, which I thought was quite interesting. I don't know if I'm going to find it here. Slay the Spire, yeah, which I was quite surprised to see, and has obviously intrigued a lot of people. So there, I think there's pretty much no details yet, really. Yeah, it's just literally like a box, and or they have said that it's going to be a cooperative game. Oh, I haven't played Slay the Spire. Yeah, definitely check it out. Or yeah, it's a fantastic game. Actually, the digital games is wonderful. You can look back if you want to have a very quick look. I streamed on Sunday. I think I played a bit of Slay the Spire. Yeah, so fantastic game. But yeah, the board game, I remain intrigued, but not yet convinced. I mean, obviously there's sort of no details. There's going to be a Kickstarter, I think, in spring. They've said. Yeah, but it will be interesting. I mean, for me, the great thing about Slay the Spire is I think it takes obviously some really great things from deck building and adapts them to the digital sphere, and that's one of the reasons why it's so great. I think there's so much freedom in what you can do with the deck building, but also in terms of the game mechanics, the fact that you can have all these different status effects, all these things like ticking down, the computer can take care of, that you could never really do. It would be far too onerous in a board game. So I kind of wonder what they're going to be taking from Slay the Spire. And, once you take out those kind of more complicated kind of computer-based things, then are you left with a fairly general co-op dungeon crawling kind of card-based system that with, maybe other games like Gloomhaven have already done? I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll definitely be very interesting to see. But yeah, we'll kind of. I remain skeptical, but of course, yeah, there's so little information, so it's not really anyone's fault or anything like that. The other thing that sort of caught my eye is a new Kickstarter which launched yesterday, which is Darwin's Journey, already up to £230,000. Rory, is the digital game all about the gameplay, or would be people invested in the world building? It's a good question, actually. I mean, there is a world, but it's certainly not particularly fleshed out. I mean, there are kind of like details sort of scattered throughout the things, and there are certainly characters, although I would say they're not particularly well fleshed out. So there's a lot of room there, I think, to take what was sort of introduced in the digital game and possibly expand upon it. Morning, Rob. How you going? Morning. Yeah, I just don't think it's that I mean, you would essentially be making a new game, right? Like you'd be putting so many details in that weren't in the main game. So that, yeah, you may do an amazing job of imagining this world in this new game. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's a great, that's a great, great kind of marketing idea. It's like, well, let's take a really well recognized IP that has a really strong game mechanism, and then we kind of sort of freely build on the world. I have no idea how much the owners are kind of the Slay Spire developers have control over which direction the game goes in and all this sort of thing. Yeah, Rob, we're talking about that they've, and I'm not sure if you saw this, but they announced that there's going to be a board game of Slay the Spire. Yes, a board game adaptation of a video game interpretation of a card game. Yes, we've gone full circle. I mean, this is what happened with Civilization, right? I mean, in a way, Civilization started as a board game with Francis Tresham, and then sort of reimagined most popularly by Sid Meier with the digital games. And then, of course, Fantasy Flight then went back and did Civilization. Well, they've done several Civilization games, but they were mostly kind of imagined on the basis of the digital games, or at least as far as I can tell. I mean, they're not strictly, but your Civ rant, I haven't. Well, have to start up your own stream, Rob, to start your own Civ rant. So that'll be Civ rants #1 with Rob Harper, your host. Could be something fun, maybe. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, anyway, I don't know about they're called contention games. I didn't actually look them up specifically. Yeah, it appears they've done this other game called Imperium, the Contention, which is supposed to release this year. I guess was kickstarted last year, probably, or 2 years ago. But there's not really much information, I guess. There's some, I don't know. Maybe there were some images here, but they didn't turn up. Anyway, so who knows? But definitely intrigued. But but also just interesting that it's sort of from a fairly small studio, I guess. I don't know what I would have expected, I guess, whether it was a bigger studio or not. But who knows, I guess. Yeah, the other thing I was checking out, was this Darwin's Journey, which is from Thundergriff Games, a Spanish publisher, who's definitely, well known, like things like Tangard, and they reissued Michael Schacht's China / Hansa as Iwari. They're known for making really, really beautiful games, but and also they had this sort of line of pocket games that they kickstarted last year. But I have to admit, I haven't really ever seen them. Yeah, they do make beautiful games for it. Yeah, I mean they're kind of like the attention to detail is incredible. But I'd never seen them do more complex games. I mean, not that this game is necessarily like absolute Vital Lacerda level of complex, but it's a game from Simone Luciani and Nestore Mangone. Probably saying their names wrong. Apologies. Who previously teamed up to make Newton with Cranio, which I just purchased actually recently, just before Christmas. Played it about 4 or 5 times and really enjoy it. It's a really nice game. I'm definitely finding the kind of Italian school of design is hitting a good spot for me at the moment. I'm playing a lot of Grand Austria Hotel, a lot of Newton. I'm hoping to get my hands on Lorenzo at some point, although I'm not sure if I'll like it as much. But anyway, it's definitely interesting. And looking at the game, actually, if you play Newton, there are a lot of things that are sort of quite familiar. There's tracks that people are moving up, and you're it has this kind of worker training mechanism where your workers they gain different seals, like colored seals. You have your workers on the board, and they get seals, and basically these seals tell them what actions they can do or which spaces they can go to, which is quite cool. And I like, I definitely in the past have sort of noodled around with kind of worker training or worker learning games where you have workers and that, what they can do kind of evolve, or they can learn new things. And this seems a pretty elegant way of doing it. And I like, it seems also like a definite feature of what they do is that they have this kind of, Euro-y kind of game, but a lot of aspects are very interchangeable. So actually, there's quite a bit of replayability. Like they have lots of different, you use 6 special actions or 6 special actions in a game, and then the game comes with like 12 of them, and you're even just changing one out can, it's basically like a really nice variable puzzle, I would say. And probably with the worker placement aspect, I haven't played it, but the worker placement aspect, there obviously is going to be interaction with that. So, it looks absolutely beautiful. And of course, there's a Kickstarter deluxe edition, with metal coins and wax seals and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh gosh, I'm spilling my tea. I got a little too excited. Rob says, I have Spirits of the Forest by them. Quite good. Needed to lean towards clear graphic design rather than the pretty artwork. Okay, yeah. I have to admit, I guess, it's interesting because not that I'm one to sort of lob criticism, because goodness knows, I'm sure plenty of my games have issues as well, but it was just interesting that there are some things, like even looking at these tiles, like I found it hard to even know what this number was. Like it's a 2, but I was like, is it a 3? Is it a weird upside down 3? Or yeah, so there are some maybe little aspects of like slight artistic form over function. But yeah, Rory says, I'm looking forward to the Matchbox game series. That's a couple of them that looks really interesting. Yeah, I mean it's let's see if I can find that thing. Where can I find mine created? Yeah, it was these. Yeah, I mean, again, like I think I've said, and Rory, I've even chatted with you quite a bit about these kind of smaller games, I guess, and yeah, it always intrigues me, like what you can get done. Yeah, I would love to actually have the option to sort of, yeah, actually looking back, I probably should have bought them maybe. I don't know why I didn't get them actually. I think I'm always, yeah, it's a tricky thing with these games. Like yeah, I agree. Small games with lovely production is very much my jam. Yeah, me too. I think. I guess I don't know why I sort of didn't pull the trigger in the end. I'm trying to think. I think this Rebus one sounded probably most interesting to me. I think maybe the thing was that actually the sort of issue was that sadly, like when I kind of looked at the gameplay, that nothing really like leapt out at me. And I think even if it's a small game, if it doesn't have some hook or some, like you ultimately got to enjoy the game. And I think I have far too many games, far enough games now that I don't need to be buying, random things just because they're sort of nice. And, it doesn't, it's sort of 35 euros, but it sort of ends up with, postage and everything. It ends up coming enough that you have to pay for it. But there's no doubt that I love this sort of idea of having series. I think it's a really smart way of doing it, actually. Of course, I don't, like, as a designer, it'd be interesting. I don't know how I would feel having a game in this line, only that it can get a bit lost, I wonder. That I wonder how many of these games are sort of known, will end up being known, as that game. Specifically, or rather, it's just one of the Matchbox games, and like, what are they called again? Oh, I don't know. What does this one do versus this one? I mean, not that I'm completely egocentric, which that musing sounds like, that I'm worried about that. But yeah, it doesn't, like, when I look at these, like, obviously the flip side is that they're all beautiful, but I wouldn't say any of them really necessarily stand out that well on their own. Whereas like Button Shy, who also makes obviously very small, these wallet games, they do a really good job of, I mean, obviously it's a lot more work, doing a Kickstarter every 1 or 2 months, but you feel like each of their games is, get that time to sell that game itself by itself, and he obviously uses Kickstarter to try and sell other products as well, but each one has its own little time in the limelight, which is sort of nice. But anyway, yeah, I agree. Like the Darwin theme is also really cool. Like Newton also had obviously a bit of a scientific theme. I don't know exactly how I feel about it, only because, I mean, it's sort of lovingly, to me, it seems lovingly created, and I think it does, it does capture a lot of those things, but it is still kind of window dressing. So I guess it's sort of nicer Euro window dressing than necessarily trading in the Mediterranean. So for me, like, the theme is nice, but what would make me buy it is the design, like, itself. I don't know like Newton ultimately, even when it has this theme of you're a scientist and going around, like it very quickly loses that and becomes, oh, it's just a puzzle about optimizing these actions and getting points. I don't feel like a scientist when I'm doing that. Yeah, Rob says, yeah, Bunch I do a steady flow of games rather than the big bundle all at once. Yeah, so anyway, it intrigues me. The only other thing that I sort of would say that, and I mean, you know, this is sort of a nice way because I'm sure people could lob the same concerns against my own games, which have appeared on Kickstarter. But you know, there's a part of me that is a little bit sad about that. For example, like I'm interested in gameplay, and the fact that they've put an expansion in the deluxe edition that you can't, at least at the moment, you can't get in any other way. You know, it's just sort of like, and I know it's the way of Kickstarter, and it makes sense. And in a way, it's actually not a bad price. You know, like it's 70 euros versus 45. So you're essentially paying 25 euros for an expansion. And the expansion doesn't look small. Like there's, you know, a kind of an extra board or at least a different board. And, you know, like, you know, it doesn't seem like necessarily a small expansion. So 25 euros is probably not a bad price realistically for an expansion. But it's more that, I don't know, it's just that weird feeling of like, I don't really care about metal coins. I don't need wax seals. I don't need all these things. But, you know, if I want to get that expansion, then, and, you know, I have to do that. I mean, of course, it's nice playing with nice things, so I can't complain too much. But it was just an interesting choice, I guess, you know, like kind of interesting structural choice. I know with Monumental, we really struggled with how to kind of work out how the expansions should work, what form they should be offered in, you know, like, should they kind of be add-on or not, or et cetera, et cetera. So. Rob says, yeah, they have a subscription. And sorry, I missed Rory's. They have Momentum as well. I'm sure many of the backers pledge measures the time. Yeah, exactly. I think once you know, it's like the older layer games. People are collectors ultimately, and I think appealing to that aspect is not a bad idea. And you know, especially with the case of Button Shy, where you know each game is not costing very much. I think that's really reasonable. Anytime you can build up that kind of like brand loyalty, I think is really important. They do have a subscription model. Yeah, Rory says they do have. Yeah, I'd love to explore Kickstarter for own games in the future, but it feels a bit impenetrable for games that don't have 50 stretch goals. Yeah, I think. I mean, and we've chatted about this, Rory, haven't we? A little bit. I think. You know, I think Button Shy has definitely shown that you can. You know, you can get a bit of a following. You know, Travis Hill, for example, has this Cube Rails game that just went up on the Make 100, and you know he sold 100 physical copies within 10 minutes. And I mean, obviously he has a bit more, you know, he has a following, but he doesn't necessarily have a track record of making, you know, physical games. And I think there's definitely still an audience for that style of game. I think, especially when they see it's a creator that's not a big publisher. Rob's getting confused having multiple comments. Welcome to streaming, where you try and have. There's been a distinct lack of tangents yet. So I mean, this is the stream, the tangent, you know. So Rob says, also I buy a game I think I might like, and they are trying to get me to deluxify and get a stack of expansion the same year. I mean, of course, it's the kind of I can't say Kickstarter was the first people to do this, right? Obviously, like upselling is not a unique thing. It's not a new thing. And actually, I have to be honest, like I think looking at the kind of prices here, realistically, I don't think they're gouging people too badly. You know, I think for a nicely produced Euro game, you would probably pay 50 euros. Like 45 euros for the base game, I think is perfectly reasonable. And you're kind of paying 20, you know, if you think of it as 25 euros for expansion, and you've got something, hey, Ollie, how you going? Welcome. Thanks for dropping by. You were very, very quick on your promise of dropping by the stream from yesterday. Hope you're well. I'm just chatting about Darwin's journey here on Kickstarter, and we chatted a little bit about Slay the Spire before I'm not sure if you saw on Twitter. I'm sure you did. Talking about this Slay the Spire, the board game adaptation of the digital game, which was an adaptation of deck building. You know, everything's going full circle. But yeah, anyway, and we were sort of talking about, well, I mean, Uli, it's great you're here. We're sort of talking about, you know, putting games on Kickstarter as a small creator, and having a series of games and sort of building brand loyalty. I'm sure there's, I'm sure you have you know, a number of customers of Spielworks who are, you know, who kind of buy almost sight unseen, right? And I don't know, have you ever sort of I don't know how to say this. I mean, obviously, just making games of excellent quality in a kind of consistent way will do this. But are there any other ways you sort of try and build kind of brand loyalty? It doesn't sound great, but it's like, how do you get people feeling like they want to keep buying games from the same publisher of the same type, that sort of thing. I mean, we did, I think we were talking about this Matchbox collection that was previously by Thundergriff as well, and that Rory and I both like really small games, and it's just finding a way to sell, not necessarily even sell them, or just find what is there, what models are kind of possible for these things now. We've chatted a little bit about, Brett and I previously did this print and play series of micro games, which we offered for free, but we had a Patreon that was trying to support them, which was interesting as well. Uli says when he founded Spielworks, it's so much easier than today. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Actually, I kind of forget that. Actually, you've been doing this a really long time, and that's fantastic. And obviously, it's a different thing when you come into this time already having that customer base rather than having to sort of build it from nothing, I guess. And I've definitely been interested in the kind of Patreon model. I think we haven't really and Button Shy seems to be, I would say, almost the only. I think I haven't seen many other board game publishers doing Patreon. I feel like I've made this claim before, and then somebody has told me another exception. I've forgotten again, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the Patreon for Good Little Games actually. Just to show you what we were doing, I guess. It's mostly public. Can we actually see the... Oh, that's strange. I can't actually see the... Can we just see the actual... Oh, okay, sorry. I'm trying to find the thing, but it's a bit strange. Patreon won't show the page for some reason. Maybe it's gone inactive. Brett and I haven't really updated it for a very long time, but yeah, I think there's still a part of me that would love to. Yeah, I mean, and as thinking about going, hey Jay, how are you going? Rory says, I guess with Patreon there's a pressure to produce games at a consistent pace. Yeah, I think so, but I think there are smart ways you can do about it. I think and this is what we sort of chatted about, not having a distribution model which is not necessarily about printing the games yourselves and producing them. More and more people are getting used to print and play, especially also if they're kind of simple card games and there's easy ways to digitalize them, which is not necessarily Tabletop Simulator, something that's a little bit easier. Like obviously like itch.io on the digital side is they're much more like apps without any kind of, you run in the browser. Tabletopia is obviously another thing. So you sort of wonder a model which allows you to release games as print and play and on Tabletopia, so that if people don't want to print and play, they can still play them online. And then with and then maybe you have one Kickstarter a year where you can kind of kickstart all the titles that you've developed in the past year as sort of physical copies. But yeah, and I think also with Patreon, there's other ways. I think and Button Shy does this. They explore. They're not always necessarily producing a new title every month. Sometimes it's an expansion for an existing game, and their expansions are very small. Sometimes it's an extra 3 cards or something. I think that is interesting, finding ways to kind of continually develop your games, or the other thing is if you have a scenario-based game or a sort of a game which is kind of easily expandable, then again you're not creating a complete new system all the time, and I think that is also interesting. So yeah, but it always comes down to is that ultimately a very good use of your time? Is it? I think you could get a really good audience, and I think it would be. Yeah, I love working in that space, I guess, is the ultimate way. And I guess the unfortunate thing, it's not really the way to make a lot of money, but it's a way to make some really cool games, I think. And it's a really, from a designing point of view, I love the constraints. Just it's so freeing in some ways because. Yeah, you really think of new things, or you reimagine how you can do things, and I really love that. Rob says, I think Patreon doesn't sit very well with the Kickstarter transactional rewards approach. Some people make it work, but they're the exception. Yeah, that's true. It's interesting too because there's also at least I don't know many board game designers who are on Patreon, because obviously there are digital designers who are on Patreon who aren't offering a product. Essentially, they're using it something more akin to what Patreon is, which is, please support me. This is going to help me make my future games, and yeah, that's kind of what they're doing. But I haven't seen that work in the board game, and maybe that's an interesting thing to, maybe I will try that. It's hard to know exactly what you can offer backers necessarily in that case. Like, what are you really giving them? What, in return for the thing? I mean, maybe there are ways that you can give different access to games, or maybe you can produce games that you would just give out to your backers or something like that. But again, like, it's kind of more work, and where's all that going? But yeah, so it's an interesting kind of trick, but yeah, I don't know. But anyway, Darwin's Journey is certainly the first Kickstarter of the year, which I don't back that many Kickstarters, to be honest, but I am tempted only because I really like Newton. It's Uli was saying on his stream yesterday he doesn't really like puzzle games, so I don't think this is going to be the game for you, because I feel like especially this combination of Simone and Nestor, they tend to produce Euros which are all about the puzzle, I would say. But it's a puzzle I quite enjoy, and I'm liking more and more these games that pack that puzzle into like 45 to 60 minutes, which I really like. Rob says, I don't want Patreon rewards. I want to be tipping someone who says, thanks for doing your thing, please do it more. Yeah, that's true. And I think it's interesting. I think if you set up a Patreon, which is based very much on that, and you say, like, actually the rewards are going to be, maybe you write a newsletter or something, or it's just more about like chatting with the creator. Of course, the tricky thing is, like, if I did it, it's like, well, I'm already streaming and talking about everything I know, so I can't really say, well, you can have an extra chat with me. And I also, there's been a topic that I refuse to talk about on stream, but I'll talk for a select audience about. But yeah, and that's fantastic. I mean, I'm amazed. I mean, having anyone who's happy to do that is fantastic. And in some ways, for me, for example, I tell people, don't subscribe to this stream, to my channel. It doesn't make any sense, really. Like, I'm not doing this to make money. And I tell people, go and support other creators, or find some other way to support people, or donate to charity, or whatever. Very kind that you want to support it. But yeah, Patreon's obviously a little bit different, but in a way, it's also much more efficient, because the money mostly is going to the creator. You're not going through some other medium. So yeah, who knows? Uli, there are some exceptions. You do like patchwork regarding puzzle games. Okay, yeah. No, I think I like, I don't know. I guess I don't think I have a specific taste ultimately in what I play. It's ranged pretty broadly, and it's sort of strange as someone who was not necessarily a very thematic person, when I would say, like, I'm not a big thematic gamer. Now I'm making a lot of these sort of narrative thematic games. So it's sort of been a weird conversion for me as a designer. But yeah. But anyway, I hope everyone's well this morning and enjoying the start of a Wednesday. It's yeah, as I said, as I sort of started with, it's a bit of an experiment to try a sort of a different time of streaming, different type of stream, like very, very casual, pretty relaxed, just chatting. I was inspired by Thea Revere's matinal streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where she does the same thing. And check Teo out if you get a chance. He streams in French, which of course is a bit tricky. Not everyone speaks French. I don't speak French, but it's sort of fun all the same to just sort of see the rise of more board game designers. I don't. Uli, how long have you been streaming? Because I feel like actually you were streaming really before it was like longer than a lot of other sort of folks in the the publishing / board game designing world. It's sort of been fun seeing more and more board game designers and publishers. I mean, of course, and that's actually the other interesting thing is that I haven't seen this before. They were streaming live when they launched this Kickstarter, actually. So they were playing the game on Tabletop Simulator, and they had a big link right at the start of the page, which was like watch live on Twitch or something, which I can't really remember seeing before, which I thought was a kind of a cool touch. I mean, when I dropped in, it wasn't really like a chat kind of experience. They were just kind of playing a game on Tabletop Simulator, but it's an interesting way, and a great way to potentially get a lot more people following your Twitch stream. So I'm not sure if you've ever done that, Uli, for any of your Kickstarters, but it could be an interesting idea. Yeah, not really that long. You've been going since April 2020. Well, I mean, you're still far ahead of, because I feel like it was sort of the second half of 2020. You know, I started. Well, Bess, for example, is incredible. She's been streaming for I don't know how many, like every day for months, which is just incredible. And we'll probably raid her at the end of this stream. I was trying to not negotiate, it wasn't, but I didn't want it to clash with Bez. So the idea is this will end, and then all those interested can hop over to Bez's stream. So you can just be chatting about board games all day long if you want, which is maybe something nice that, you know, in the middle of all these times, it's nice to have lighter topics to chat about, I guess, which is good. But has anyone else been checking out any games, anything of interest over the last few days that you're particularly interested about? Yes, but I will save my decision on Darwin Showing, I think, until the end. Yeah, I'm a bit the same. Only started because of the pandemic. Want to stay in touch with gamers on a weekly basis. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly the same reason I started. Even a more general sense, not necessarily like wanting to chat to gamers specifically, but just a sense of staying at home all the time. And you know, I just effectively I've moved to a new country, and you know, so you just don't see anybody, and I don't have any colleagues that I'm working with, and these sort of things. So it's been a really nice way to just sort of have a bit of a social experience. And you know, I've quite enjoyed it. So now I guess I'm now doing it 3 times a week, and we'll see how it goes. Rory says, if you join Encarto, yeah, actually, I very briefly mentioned it on a stream a few weeks ago. It was a recommendation from Game Maker's Toolkit, I think, if I remember rightly. I can probably get it up here. Wait a minute, Encarto. It looked really great. So yeah, I'd definitely be interested in trying it out. Although I don't know whether it's on. Oh no, it is actually on Mac. I mean, it's so often I'm like, oh, this game is really interesting, but I can't play it because I'm on a Mac. I mean, it looks super cute. I'm just trying to find an image. Yeah, it's where you can. I mean, Rory, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're able to essentially move tiles around, and you can essentially change the world, and then you zoom in, and then you're actually moving around like the character around the world. So it's a bit of a puzzle kind of adventure game. But it really does. I mean, I love the art. I think it looks great, and I love the kind of tile moving around. You know, again, like more and more, you know, I try and keep in touch with kind of video game world, because I'm always interested when digital games take what's their take on tabletop games, and then that can give you new ideas for tabletop games and this sort of thing, which is quite cool. So yeah, maybe I will pick it up and give it a go. I haven't really been playing many yet. I just play a lot of Hearthstone at the moment and a little bit of Magic Arena, but I should probably. Yeah, they've hooked me in with their. Yeah, so well, yeah, I should have renamed this to be the you know, puzzle game design Cuppa or whatever. it's all about that. Yeah, but it's yeah, it's how it goes, I guess. But the art is quite beautiful. Square tiles with diagonal quarters. Diagonal. Oh, I see. Goes away and scrap. No, don't scrap another prototype. There've been plenty of games that already do that. Didn't like Walnut Grove, an early, was it a Lookout game, I think? Didn't it have tiles that had this kind of, I mean, hold on, game. I thought it did have, goodness me, can I find it? I thought this one had kind of, yeah, this has the same kind of diagonal tiles, for example. Yeah. No, it's definitely, it's not so much a new thing, but yeah, I like too. I have an early, I have a prototype as well from many years back, which was the same diagonal sort of tiles thing as well. I was trying to do a kind of a Viking themed game before they were cool, but you know, it was it never really went anywhere. I was trying to make like a heptagon rondel or something, like where you would play cards coming out in 7 different directions. Yeah, I never kind of get it, like there was 7 different gods and they were doing various things, etc., etc. But yeah, never quite got there with it, I'm afraid. Yeah. Yes. Rory bought Charte the other day. I do not know this game. Is it a board game? Charte. Oh wow, it sounds really cool already. Oh, interesting. A game. It's a 2-player filler. Yeah, I just found it on Board Game Geek. I love a gaming haiku of strategy and cartography. That is a pretty amazing. I love that pitch. Oh yes, and they have, well, they're not exactly diagonal tiles, but they're somewhat similar. It looks fairly well, not fairly streamlined kind of game. Oh, interesting. I'll put that on the list to do research. I hadn't heard of the game at all, actually, which is sort of funny. I'm not saying I'm necessarily up with everything. And Uli, you were saying this yesterday. Like, there's just so many. You and what was the game that you were talking about? I had the word that keeps coming in my head, which is Polygonia, which is not the right, because I have a prototype called Polygonia. But you were talking about another Reiner Knizia game, which I have, Babylonia, which you hadn't heard about, and I haven't heard about this at all. For example, Board Game Circus. Board Game Circus. Okay. Oh, so they're a distributor in Germany, but I wonder who the actual publisher then is. Is it? Oh, maybe this was it. Maybe they were Magellan. Oh, I don't know. I can't really tell. The rules look unsettlingly simple. I wonder if they tell them on the back? Oh no, it's all German. Well, anyway, I shall check it out. Oh, it looks like, is it? Yeah, interesting. I like the look. It's quite cool. Yeah. Yes, that's Knizia for you. Upsettingly simple. Yeah. I mean, that's why you see Eric Martin's kind of videos about. I mean, I love his videos, and I love the way he talks about games. Actually, I love that he would talk about someone else other than Knizia. Like, I like when he talks about Knizia, but I would love to kind of have that depth of thought on a few more authors or a few more different types of games and things like that. But obviously, you should do what you love, and that's what Eric Martin's doing. But yeah, it's he's an impressive author. Certainly, I can't fault him for that at all. Yeah. So what do people have planned for today? I guess is it a sort of work day, or you must be preparing your Kickstarter, which is fairly soon. Is it sort of a daily job? I guess I'm not sure. I've not been on the publishing side of Kickstarter. I've known, Kickstarters obviously can be a little bit more not relaxed, but kind of under control, and you sort of ticking things off. But I've also been in Kickstarters where you're really pushing everything right up till the date, trying to get art and production and game features and the page set up and all these sort of things. It sounds like it could be a bit stressful. Yeah, are you talking about Reiner's games? Well, I mean, Reiner's always coming out with games all the time. I mean, I'm also impressed with I saw there was like a new Uwe Rosenberg game, that looked like kind of a patchwork, not patchwork, Nova Luna style game. I can't remember who was talking about it on Board Game Geek, and I'm like, oh, there's even more. Can't really keep up with it. But that's the kind of speed of game releases these days. But yeah, for me, I'm hoping it's going to be a bit of a, well, I mean, I'm still part-time on my other job, so I have a few meetings for that, but I'm hoping to work on something for Alley Cat today, Alley Cat Games. I've promised them to be working on a prototype for a while, and I'm at the stage of designing where it's very much stuck in my head. It's very much something that I want to do, but there's one part of my brain is that I just need to make the prototype, even though I think it will be bad. Like I have a structure which I like, but I'm worried that it's not very interesting ultimately. So I'm stuck between these two feelings of just make a prototype, even if it's terrible, whatever. I'm stuck between that feeling and maybe you should take a little bit more time to think about this. Maybe you'll have a bit of a breakthrough that might give you a lot more enthusiasm or energy for it. As I was talking about on the stream before, like as I'm hoping to become more a full-time designer, you just have to sometimes, I think you have to grit your teeth and just design, even when you're not kind of feeling like it, and you just have to do the work and go through that process of making iterations and making prototypes, even if they're bad. And hopefully from each version, you can salvage something that means you sort of get closer and closer to the end point. So that's going to be my job today. Yeah, it's weird. I'm not necessarily looking forward to it, but I think I'll feel better once it's out of my head. It's been sort of taunting me for a while. I'm not sure if anyone else has this same sort of feeling where you just have something in your what the idea is, and it's not even that I don't know really that much of the details, but I know quite a few details. It's just you just have to do it. You just have to do it. Yes, no, I admire the creativity. I mean, it's sort of, what was the word I was trying to, not manufactured creativity, but it's that creativity that you have to have, not under stress, but that you can't just wait for it to come to you. Sometimes you just have to do it. As Jay says, yeah, you're right. Breakthrough might come while I make a prototype. Yeah, it might. I mean, the problem in the back of my head is that I'm a little bit worried that even the structure is just wrong, or that it's just the wrong pitch. I'm trying to make it's a family style game, and for me it's always a bit tricky about you want to make something that's interesting, but that there's also accessible, and starting with that is tricky. Rory says, I like the ethos of work on what excites you, but sadly that has to take a backseat sometimes. Yeah. And even what excites you, you're gonna hit moments where there's another game, this flavor-based game, which does excite me very much, but I'm also at the stage which is not particularly fun, which is just I just have to make a prototype. And for me, that's not the most fun point, but you just have to do it. That's the way it goes. So manufactured creativity, or kind of productive creativity. I don't know if there's probably lots of self-help books out there or things like that. I'm always, of course, the new year. Also, the other thing that I don't know, my YouTube has started recommending all these different productivity kind of things and new note-taking apps and new ways to get things done. And it's sort of funny when I listen to these people. I mean, it's very impressive, and I definitely take the point that there are systems that can work for people that help them be productive or organized. But it's sort of funny that I almost want to ask, but what happens when you just don't do the thing that you need to be doing? There's this sort of underlying of these sort of apparently hyper-productive people, that I wonder if there's also just some internal thing that, you pushes them. And I mean, it probably did for me as well too. When you needed to, why did I keep working on games that I had no idea whether to be published, and I wasn't very good at it, and I would still do it. So there obviously was something in me that made no sense to keep doing it. It wasn't necessarily that it was always fun, but I just had to do it. So yeah, maybe that's why I'm in the right thing, I guess. Rob says, that's why I need collaborators. I'm excited by the other game normally, but I can also be excited by whatever I've just discussed with someone. Yeah, I definitely found that when I worked with, with collaborators generally, but I remember specifically working with Brett on several games, and very often after the first or second prototype, I'm very down. It doesn't work, as it never does really, probably at that point. And it's it's the distance from what you've just played to the thing that's in your head. And that farther that distance is, just the worse you feel, or at least that's the case for me. And yeah, I'm always I'm not depressed, but I'm a little bit down after these things, and you kind of want to give up and you want to throw it away, or a slightly less less extreme version is you just want to. No worries. Thanks very much for dropping by, Willie. Have a great day. Yeah, and enjoy your week. It's you know, a slightly less extreme version is like, oh, I need to scrap everything. I need to restart with doing something else, or you know, like I need to, and of course that can also be a bit of a problem if you're continually restarting a project, you don't make any progress either. So it's sort of weird. And it's those times where Brett would just say, oh no, actually, I think this bit's okay. I think, and then he'd sort of enter with a different idea, a different take, and that's why collaborating is so amazing, because that other point of view not only going to just help the game move forward, but it also just mentally, or from a kind of a feeling point of view, can really change the mood about thinking about a game, and it suddenly something feels much more possible, where before it felt, you know, impossible or very far away from ever being something that works or anything like that. So yeah, and I do miss that, because it's also just, it's not quite the same also over Skype and things like that. I don't know how it feels a bit more like work when you have to schedule a meeting and you get onto Skype or Discord or whatever. So I haven't quite adapted to the new way of working. But well, Rory, you know, sign me up. I've been really impressed with. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where your roll and write goes. But yeah, we should just collaborate on a small card game or something. I think that's both in our wheelhouse, definitely. So no, I'd definitely be up for that. A landscape game, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm always interested in. Oh yes, exactly. You're right. Sorry, you're specifically referring to something. Yeah, I talked about some landscape, some amazing landscape illustrations that you made. Yeah, I had. What did I thought to do with that game? I had a very initial thought. I had a kind of like a travel, sort of like a map-based game where each of the cards were specifically. A specific location, and there was sort of a logic as to how close the locations were to each other, that they'd use symbols to sort of show that, and you'd sort of be traveling and like collecting these cards, but if you've already been somewhere that's close to somewhere else, it means it's easier to get to that new location because you've kind of already gone almost part of the way, and that symbols kind of tell you that, like, oh, I've made this triangle symbol, and I know this other thing says it's next to the triangle, so somehow it would make you know, make it easier, but ultimately it would be quite a simple you know, card collection game. But I loved this idea of a logic, like a kind of like a map type logic, without necessarily laying things out like a map, having this idea of things being close to each other, or, you know, I guess it's like these imagined maps. Yeah, exactly. I think I was interested about almost like cards having suits, essentially, you know, you know, and they had certain symbols, and you were almost making chains of symbols through your cards or something like that. You know, that as the very quick moment, quick thought that I'd had, but I haven't. Yeah, I mean, as much as I also say I like collaborating, I know I'm probably quite a frustrating collaborator, because yeah, because well, exactly what we're talking about. Like there's sometimes there are things you'd love to work on, but I also have enough responsibilities that there are times where, you know, all those kind of fun, interesting new things have to take a backseat, because I have to do the thing that not only that I have to do, but I don't find particularly enjoyable, or I find it difficult. So it takes me, you know, quite a bit of time. But anyway, hopefully, I mean, I think that's the other thing this year. I want to. Yeah, I just want to keep in mind to keep working on new things, I guess. You know, it's a great thing to have successful lines and to keep making new content for these things, but I don't want to get completely stuck in that, I guess, because that means that, yeah, you're not creating new things. And for me, that was always the fun of game design. It was like, what's this new puzzle that I can solve? What's this new system that I can somehow work out how it works and tease apart and make something fun out of it? You know, like for me, I think it's always a very personal enjoyment in kind of discovering that system and kind of working it out, and hopefully other people enjoy the game as well too. But yeah, like for me, that was always quite important. So Rory, what are you working on game design today then? Are you working on your roll and write? I'd be yeah, you should make a, well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you tweet out a new sheet, I'll definitely give it a go. I really liked the thought of it. I mean, that's another thing, actually. Roll and writes, realistically, I wonder if that's also an interesting model for a Patreon, or for you know, for these other kind of models. Hey, Xate. Good morning. How are you going? we've had a pretty relaxed morning. Hopefully, I don't know how people finding the stream. It's you know, it's a bit new for me, but it's fun. It's a little bit of a easy kind of morning. The next version of the Roll and Write will be up on Discord for today. Great, fantastic. I look forward to giving it a go. Yeah, so I mean that's another kind of interesting. I mean, I wonder if offering like a Roll and Write every sorry, lost train of thought. Offering like a Roll and Write every month is obviously a lot easier, and also kind of fits the print and play thing a lot easier as well, I guess. Early morning streams are good for me. Excellent. Well, I mean I think and solo games might be a good fit for Patreon. That's true. Yeah, so maybe that's the thing. You just come up with solo games and you sort of you know, put them into there, and yeah, getting an audience, especially like I think any of these things which are easy kind of print and plays where you're not cutting things, for example, like Roll and Writes could be. So a good little Roll and Write, yeah, maybe that. I mean that's well, Rory, we should talk. That could be quite interesting, actually. I think that's it's not a terrible kind of idea in a way, and then obviously it's an easy, also potentially. I mean, Joey Shotton or is that the right name? Who did like Good Odin games or Grey Odin games? Who did the kind of Roll and Write anthology? You know, then there's obviously you know, later on you can easily you know, especially if you stick to kind of standard, you know, D6 kind of things. It means that, you know, you could publish a book or something of all the Roll and Writes or something like that, which also could be interesting. Yeah, I feel like that's all I'm going to be playing for the next 3 months. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, unfortunately. And Tiny Islands, Xex in the chat. Have you tried the Daily Shuffle today? Sorry to have got you so addicted to it. But yeah, that's true. I mean, I mean, actually, but even outside of the virtual thing, Roll and Writes are just, for me, they're the perfect morning game. They're the perfect, like I play with my partner over breakfast. Very often we'll play like Metro X or something, or we played a lot of Quinto when it came out, and yeah, they're just these wonderful like 10-15 minute games, pretty relaxed. You can play you can play every day, and it doesn't matter. There's always a good variety. Well, that's it. That should be the first thing every morning, is to play the Tiny Islands score or something like that. Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, the good little Roll and Write. I will have to think about that. That's an intriguing sort of idea. Yeah, but I don't know. Is Bez already streaming? I'm just going to check to see if, because the intention is certainly to raid Bez. So I will at least hang around until Bez comes on. Number 1, brush teeth. 2, put on Matt Denton's. Oh yeah, Tiny Islands, which is excellent. I haven't tried it today yet. I have to admit, I'm not. Yeah, I don't play it that much anymore, but I enjoy playing it on stream. I think it's a fun game to play on stream. So yeah, but looking at more Roll and Writes. It's sort of funny for someone who plays so many Roll and Writes. I haven't necessarily always pursued making a lot of Roll and Writes, but I think again, like if you're offering them as print and play, then there's a little bit of a different bar, and maybe you can be a bit more experimental, and maybe you don't have to worry about the publishability of things. I find that the Roll and Writes these days are I think they're just hard to sell realistically, and there's not enough room to like just have an interesting little idea that can, you know, kind of twist things and go around. But they're still being. I saw one in Board Game News, which is you have to fold over the piece of paper as well as you're writing. It was like by Klaus Jürgen Reed. I'm just trying to find the. Where was it? Yeah, this fold paper one was it's called Kansted Knicken or whatever. But yeah, interesting from Klaus Jürgen Reed of Carcassonne fame. Yeah, and it looks like you have to at various points like fold over the paper and then cross things out or something, which is which is interesting actually. Yeah, and I usually like the Schmidt kind of Roll and Write things. Yes, I've noticed that the crew has become a very regular play thing. Oh well, I mean, thankfully Thai Islands is not trying to part you with all of your money or anything like that. So it's hopefully a relatively harmless addiction, and there's only one daily shuffle a day or something like that. So, Rory, I thought it wouldn't be my jam, but I've been really enjoying working on Roll and Write. Very happy I ended up doing Idlecon. Yeah, I think Roll and Writes are. It's just because there's such a. I think it's the exactly right amount of constraints in a way. You already kind of know the scope of it, and they're just so easy to test, to just try. And that kind of rapid iteration is so much more possible with them than with other games. So they kind of and like micro games is the same thing. When you've only got 18 cards, there's only so many things you can do, and you just have to try and see how it goes. So it can be really valuable from that point of view. So. Yes. Well, we're coming up slowly to the end of the hour, and I am sticking to the hour for the board game Cuppa, or at least it should be like until Bez comes on stream each day. But thanks very much for joining all those who have got up early and said hi in the chat. And I'm still hoping that I'll be able to reach some Australian folks. I'd love to connect more with the Australian gaming community. As I might end up back in Australia someday, so it would be good to get to know some people over there, or for them to know the stream, I guess. That would be cool. I should have thanked Uli for the follow. Actually, I didn't see that. I'm still such a not such a noob who hasn't sort of set up any sort of automatic follower like notifications or anything like that. So. That's funny how that works out, but yeah. But anyway, I should also I was also tempting. I wonder if I'll end up setting up a Discord, but maybe I should set up some sort of I'll set up some thread on IdleCon or something. Sort of everyone seems to be setting up Discord, like Discord servers, and it's like I wonder if I should set up a Discord server, but it's like then even I am finding like there's just too many Discord servers in the world, so I don't know if I want to add to the problem or not. but we'll see. It's all about building the brand, building new community, and all these sort of things. Exactly. Well, I have to. I'll chat to Michael. I think it would be fun. I definitely am intending next IdleCon to be streaming as well. I mean, I know it's Michael's thing, but hopefully he wouldn't mind other streamers getting in on it. I'd love to kind of be like simultaneous, or like we can follow after each other or whatever. I haven't done much designing on stream. I worry. I've said before, I worry it's not particularly interesting. But I think for something like IdleCon, I would make a bit of an exception. I don't know. I guess maybe it would be interesting for viewers to kind of see how I design, but I don't think it's. Anyway, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I could narrate all my thoughts at the same time as trying to have them. It's funny how Discord. I like it. I definitely like it for some things, but I find it quite hard to follow, especially like the Discords with quite a few different threads and channels. There's just so much, just feels like there's a lot of noise, and especially for things that are set up to follow people who are streaming or things like that, which are great, but there's just so many people in them. Like they're not small communities necessarily, and there's just so much. It's like the chat of a Twitch. It's like archiving Twitch chat or something. As it's great in the moment, but it's not something that I need to sort of keep up with as I'm going. So it's that was a bit of a weird feeling, but so yes, I probably won't do a Discord, even though I think a Discord for myself privately may be useful for collaborators to and I do actually use it with Teo. We have a Discord together, and that's worked reasonably well actually. We've used it to sort of put different ideas and chat and things like that, which has been good. But it's doesn't always work as you would wish. I don't think Bez is around yet. So you're stuck with me for a little bit. I've ended up muting most of the Discords. I get notifications all day for things I don't care about, other people's conversations or invites to play Among Us. Yeah, that's true. It has a very, yeah, I end up muting the, yeah, you're right. I actually end up muting the tab itself. and then it's funny, I sometimes will get onto Discord and I'm trying to have a conversation with someone. I'm like, I can't hear you. And I've forgotten I muted the tab like a week ago because I didn't want all the stupid notifications. But okay, excellent. Thanks, Zaid. Bez has gone live. That means that is the end of the first board game design Cuppa. Thank you all for joining me. I hope it was a sort of a chill, relaxed kind of chat to start your day. I hope you have a fantastic day, fantastic Wednesday. And I will catch you on Friday. I'll be back at my normal time, 4 p.m. GMT, 5 p.m. Central European time. And until then, yeah, have a great couple of days. And let's all say hi to Bez. I will find the raid button. And for some reason, it's not. Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, I pressed something strange there. Oh, here we go. Excellent. Let's go. Yes, let's raid first. Great. Well, yeah, have a fantastic day, everyone, and I'll catch you on Friday. Cheers. Bye.